The autumn rain slid down my apartment window in thin streaks, each drop beating out a rhythm that mirrored the restless tapping of my thumbs on my phone. The glow of the screen lit up the shadows under my eyes, a harsh reminder of 3 sleepless nights spent nursing Emma. My little girl had finally drifted into a fever-broken sleep in the next room, her tiny chest rising and falling with fragile steadiness. I sank deeper into the sunken cushions of my second-hand sofa, the faint scent of fabric softener and baby powder lingering in the air like a tired hug. My rent was due tomorrow, my bank account was nearly empty, and the man who was supposed to help shoulder the weight of raising Emma her father had disappeared once again. "Please, just one more extension," I whispered under my breath, my fingers flying as I typed out the latest plea to Mike. Emma's absentee father was 3 months behind on child support, always full of promises but never of follow-through. He'd sworn up and down he was expecting a windfall from some shady job he bragged about during our last argument. Now, with bills looming and medicine still to be paid for, I was desperate enough to remind him of that. "Emma needs medicine. Rent's due tomorrow. You promised $1,200 this week. Please respond." I hit send. The words sat on the screen like a lifeline I knew would fray. Seconds later, another thought flared, reckless and sharp, so I typed again. "I know you got money from the Castelli job. Don't make me call them myself." It was an empty threat. I didn't even know who the Castelli people were, only that Mike had thrown the name around during one of his rants. I doubted he'd ever worked for anyone important, let alone someone with enough power to actually change his fortunes. Still, fear and exhaustion made me bold. I dropped the phone onto the couch and rubbed at my temples. The ache lodged behind my eyes, refusing to let up. Overhead, the ceiling light flickered. One more reminder of everything falling apart in this crumbling apartment. Then my phone buzzed. My heart leapt, expecting Mike's usual excuses. Instead, 3 words blinked back at me. "Who is this?" I frowned. Not his number. Some stranger. My stomach sank when I realized I'd tapped the wrong contact. Quickly, I typed, "Sorry. Wrong person. Please ignore." The reply came immediately. "What Castelli job?" I froze. That name again. The one Mike had dropped, casually. The one I'd stupidly repeated in my bluff. My first instinct was to abandon the conversation, delete the messages, pretend none of it had happened. But exhaustion had dulled my judgment, and instead I answered with a weak attempt at dismissal. "My ex mentioned that name once. My mistake. Forget it." The next message appeared before I could even set my phone down. "Your name." Now, a cold tingle ran up my spine. Something about the tonette wasn't a request. It was an order. This was just a mix-up. "I'm sorry to bother you." 3 dots blinked, vanished, then blinked again. The reply hit like a punch. "Address. My hands trembled. No, this was wrong. This was dangerous. I set the phone down like it had turned venomous, backing away from it. The rain outside intensified, rattling the window, but all I could hear was my own pulse thundering in my ears. I forced myself into Emma's room, drawn by the need to see her safe, to anchor myself in her peaceful breathing. Her damp curls clung to her forehead, her unicorn nightlight casting a soft purple glow across her cheeks. Her fever was gone, a small victory in a world full of failures. But back in the living room, my phone buzzed again, and again, and again. I approached like it might bite, my eyes skimming the glowing screen without daring to touch it. "I already know who you are. Sophia Ellis. My entire name, written out. 1422 Westbrook Avenue. Apartment 3B. My address. The next message broke the last of my denial. "Your daughter is feeling better." The phone slipped from my hands, clattering against the floor. How could they know about Emma, about her illness? A choking gasp escaped me as I snatched the phone back up, my fingers shaking too violently to type. Through the blinds, I peeked at the rain-slicked street below. The pavement gleamed amber under the streetlights, seemingly empty except for a row of parked cars. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe then headlights cut through the downpour. A black SUV slid to the curb in front of my building, engine running, lights extinguished, my breath caught. Exhaust curled like smoke into the night air. Another identical vehicle followed. Then another from the opposite direction. Within minutes, 5 of them lined the street, hemming in the block like a silent, menacing perimeter. My phone vibrated in my hand, and a single message appeared. Coming up, not a question, not a request, a statement. I backed away from the window, heart slamming against my ribs. The flimsy deadbolt on my door might as well have been cardboard. Heavy footsteps echoed up the stairwell, slow and deliberate, stopping right outside my apartment. Silence stretched into 4, 5 pounding heartbeats, then opened the door. Sophia. The soft knock that followed was somehow worse than a pounding fist. I clutched my phone to my chest, eyes darting toward Emma's room. Every instinct screamed at me to hide her, to flee, to fight, but there was nowhere to go. And when the voice came again, low, steady, using a name no one but Mike's mother ever called him, chills tore down my spine. I'm not here to hurt you or Emma. We need to talk about Michael. Michael, not Mike. My hand hovered over the lock. Every cell in my body told me to run, and yet, somehow, I knew there would be no running from this. My fingers trembled above the lock. One turn, and I would come face to face with the nightmare my ex had dragged into our lives. One turn, and nothing would ever be the same again. The chain rattled as I slid. It's free. The deadbolt gave way beneath my shaking hand. I opened the door. Alessio unbuttoned his jacket with casual. Alessio leaned forward, his eyes boring into mine. Perhaps, but you and your daughter are already part of this, whether you realize it or not. He reached for a photo from my shelf, one of Emma and me in the park last summer. His fingers traced the frame with unexpected gentleness. She has your smile, he murmured. The words made my blood run cold. Hearing Emma's existence acknowledged by this man, this dangerous man, was something else entirely. Please, I whispered, my voice breaking. Don't involve her in this. I'm not threatening her, Sophia, he said, setting the photo down carefully. I'm simply telling you the truth. Michael's betrayal has placed a target on both your backs, and the men who are now looking for him will not hesitate to use you or your daughter to reach him. The air seemed to thicken around me. What do you want from me? His gaze never left mine. I want to find Michael before they do, and you are going to help me. Fear coiled in my stomach like ice. How? I asked hoarsely. Am I supposed to help you when I can't even get him to answer a text? Alessio's eyes flicked briefly toward the hallway where Emma slept, then back to me. His meaning was clear without words. Because of her, I surged to my feet, fury burning through the fear. No, you are not using my daughter as bait. In one smooth motion, Alessio rose too, towering over me. His voice was calm but unyielding. If I wanted to harm her, I would have done so already. What I'm offering is protection. The only protection standing between you and men far worse than me. My pulse thundered in my ears, and deep down, I knew he wasn't lying. The silence in my apartment pressed down on me, thick and suffocating. Alessio's words echoed in my head, refusing to fade. Protection. That's what he claimed this was. But all I could see were the black SUVs outside, the stranger's gun at his side, and the sharp intelligence in his eyes that told me he always got what he wanted. My arms folded across my chest, more shield than stance. You expect me to just hand over my daughter, to trust you? His reply came soft but firm. I expect you to face reality. Michael's choices have already dragged you into a war you don't understand. The men who want him will use any means necessary to find him. You and Emma are leverage, whether in my hands or theirs. The difference is that I prefer to keep leverage alive. The words chilled me. Before I could answer, a small cry pierced the tension. Mummy, Emma's voice. I darted toward her room. She sat upright in bed, Mr. Flopsy clutched tight, her cheeks flushed from sleep. Her eyes found mine, confused and scared. Who's talking out there? Just a friend, sweetheart, I said quickly, smoothing damp curls from her forehead. Go back to sleep. But she didn't. She looked from me to the tall shadow filling our doorway. Alessio stepped closer, his presence spilling into the room. His voice lowered, steady, almost gentle. Hello, Emma. She blinked at him, half hiding behind me. Not a doctor, he added, answering the question she hadn't voiced yet. But I know doctors who can help you feel better. Emma hugged her rabbit tighter, whispering, Can Mr. Flopsy come too? Alessio inclined his head, as though she'd asked something perfectly reasonable. Of course. Something twisted painfully inside me. My instincts screamed to keep him away from her, but logic whispered that he was right without him. We were exposed. I turned back to Emma, forcing calm into my voice. We're going on a little trip, baby, just for a few days. Her eyes widened. Like a vacation. Something like that, I said, helping her into jeans and a sweater with trembling hands. She was still weak, but the fever had broken. I packed her small backpack with clothes, medicine, and her rabbit. Every motion felt unreal, like I was moving through a nightmare. Back in the living room, Alessio ended a quiet phone call the moment he saw us. His expression softened barely. His gaze landed on Emma. "Do you have everything?" he asked. I lifted the duffel bag I'd packed in minutes, enough for a few days. He nodded and tapped the earpiece I hadn't noticed before, bringing them down now. Anton opened the door, waiting silently, as Alessio gestured for us to follow. Emma clung to my hand, suddenly nervous about leaving our apartment in the middle of the night. I couldn't blame her. Every step felt like walking deeper into quicksand. "It'll be okay," I whispered. To her, though I had no reason to believe it, the hallway was silent, the stairwell echoing beneath our footsteps. Alessio led the way, Anton bringing up the rear, boxing us in like living bookends. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the street gleaming under the lamps. One of the Escalades idled at the curb, its headlights off, the hum of its engine low and powerful. Emma froze, her small fingers tightening around mine. "Mommy, I'm scared." I crouched, brushing her curls back. "It's just a fancy car, baby, like in the movies. We're going on an adventure, remember?" Her eyes searched mine, still uncertain, but she nodded bravely. I lifted her into the SUV, then climbed in after. Settling her on my lap, the interior swallowed us in black leather, an understated luxury. It smelled of expensive cologne and new car, every detail immaculate. Alessio slid in beside us, the door closing with a heavy finality. "Take us home," he told the driver. Home. Home, the word sent a jolt through me. "Your residence?" I asked tightly. "My most secure property," he replied. "You'll be safe there until Michael surfaces." Emma leaned against me, already drifting back into sleep, her exhaustion pulling her under despite the strange circumstances. I envied her ability to escape. "This is kidnapping," I whispered, careful not to wake her. Alessio's gaze flicked to me, sharp even in the dark. "This is protection. If I wanted to kidnap you, you wouldn't have had time to pack up." Truth of it silenced me. We drove in tense quiet, Emma's breathing softened against my shoulder, the city lights flashing through the tinted windows. I couldn't stop the question that slipped from me. "Why would Mike steal from you?" "He's selfish, yes, dishonest, but he's not stupid. He had to know you'd come after him." "Desperation makes men reckless," Alessio replied evenly. "Or greedy enough to believe they've found a way to solve everything at once." His jaw tightened. "What's on that flash drive?" I asked before I could stop myself. "Names, locations, financial records." His gaze stayed locked on mine, enough to dismantle operations that took generations to build. My stomach turned cold. "And you think he'll hand it back if I ask him?" "No," Alessio said, his voice cutting. "I think he'll come running when he realizes I have you. And his daughter." The calculation in his tone made my chest constrict. "You are using us as bait," I hissed. His expression didn't waver. "I prefer to think of it as leveraging available resources." His eyes flicked briefly to Emma, then back to me. "But yes, essentially." I turned toward the window, unable to meet his gaze. The SUV hummed down increasingly quiet streets, the scenery shifting as we moved into wealthier neighborhoods. Gated estates and manicured lawns rose in the dark, shadows of privilege. "If anything happens to her because of this, nothing will." He cut me off, his voice firm, absolute. "You have my word." "The word of a criminal," I muttered. "The word of a man who understands family," he countered without missing a beat. "More than your ex ever did." I flinched, because he wasn't wrong. The SUV slowed, turning into a private drive flanked by stone pillars. A wrought iron gate swung open, admitting us before closing swiftly behind. The driveway curved through landscaped grounds, leading to a looming mansion of stone and glass that rose against the night like something out of another world. "Welcome to my home, Sophia," Alessio said quietly as the car rolled to a stop in the circular drive. His eyes cut to mine. "For now, it's yours too." The driver opened the door. Cool night air rushed in. I tightened my hold on Emma, staring at the mansion's glowing windows. A cage of luxury, and I was walking straight into it. The mansion's doors opened with a hush, revealing soaring ceilings and marble floors that gleamed under soft golden lights. Every detail spoke of wealth. The art on the walls, the subtle scent of polished wood, the quiet hum of power that lingered in the air. But beneath all of it was something else: security. This wasn't just a home. It was a fortress. A woman in her 60s waited in the foyer. Her silver-streaked hair was tied neatly, her posture perfectly straight. Sharp eyes took in everything, the bags in my hands, Emma asleep on my shoulder, the damp strands of my hair clinging to my face. Rosa, Alessio greeted, his tone lighter, tinged with something almost like affection. The East Suite, prepared, as you requested. Her gaze shifted to me, unreadable. This is Sophia, and her daughter. Yes, they'll be staying for a while. Rosa's eyes lingered on Emma, noting her flushed cheeks. The child is ill. Recovering from a fever, I said. My arms tightening around her. Dr. Maraf will come in the morning, Alessio added. Until then, Rosa will see to what they need. Rosa inclined her head. Come, the little one needs proper rest. I hesitated, looking back at Alessio. And then what? We just wait here while you hunt Mike. His expression hardened. Final. We'll discuss tomorrow. Tonight, you rest. Safe. That's what he called it. But nothing about this felt safe. Still, exhaustion pressed down heavier than fear. I followed Rosa up a sweeping staircase, down a corridor lined with paintings that probably cost more than my yearly rent, and into a suite larger than my entire apartment. The sitting room opened into a spacious bedroom. A second, smaller room branched off, clearly meant for a child. For her, Rosa said. Though, tonight, perhaps she stays with you. Yes, I answered quickly. Emma wasn't leaving my side. I laid her gently on the king-sized bed, her little body curling instinctively around Mr. Flopsy. Rosa returned with a cool cloth for her forehead and a pair of silk pajamas that dwarfed her frame. Tomorrow we'll arrange proper clothes, Rosa said. Her tone was firm, not unkind. Thank you, I murmured, adjusting the cloth on Emma's head. There is food in the small refrigerator, if you're hungry. Breakfast is at 8, but for the child, we can prepare something earlier. Rosa's sharp eyes lingered on me. Rest now. Morning comes quickly. When she left, silence pressed in. I changed into a soft t-shirt from the dresser, curling beside Emma in the massive bed. My daughter's breathing steadied against me, and only then did the tremors start in my hands. What had I done? We were in the home of a criminal, a man with an empire, men with guns, and secrets that could get people killed. And yet without him, Emma and I would have been left exposed, with no idea how close danger had already crept. Sleep came in fragments. Nightmares chased me, black SUVs outside my window, Emma's voice calling for me, Mike's lies spilling from his lips. By the time pale light filtered through the curtains, my body felt heavier than stone. Emma, however, was wide awake. Her fever had broken, her cheeks cool. She wandered the suite with wide-eyed wonder, tugging at the velvet curtains and running her fingers over polished furniture. Is this a hotel, Mommy? She asked, peering into the marble bathroom with its gleaming tub. Sort of, I hedged. It's Mr. Alessio's house. We're staying here a little while. Her eyes brightened. It's pretty. Then she frowned. But I didn't bring my frozen nightlight. I forced a smile. We'll find something else. A knock sounded at the door. My pulse jumped. It was Rosa, carrying a tray piled with fruit, pastries, and a small pot of hot chocolate for the little one. Mr. Castelli thought she might prefer to eat here while you speak with the doctor. My shoulders tensed. I'm not leaving Emma with strangers. Rosa's expression softened just slightly. Sophia, if Mr. Castelli wished to separate you from your child, he would not need my help. He respects that you are a mother. But there are matters to discuss, not for a child's ears. Emma's attention was already fixed on the croissants. Before I could argue further, another knock came. Rosa admitted a man with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, his medical bag in hand. I'm Dr. Marav, he said warmly, his accent faintly Eastern European. And you must be Emma. Her shyness melted under his grandfatherly smile. My throat hurts, she whispered. Well, let's take a look. He glanced at me. With your permission, of course. I hesitated, torn. Rosa caught my eye. Mr. Castelli was insistent. It concerns your ex-husband. My stomach dropped. 15 minutes, I told her firmly. Then I'm coming back. I kissed Emma's curls, assuring her I'd be right back, before Rosa led me through the hallways toward a study on the main floor. The room smelled of leather and wood, its shelves lined with books, its windows tall and framed by heavy curtains. Alessio stood near one of them, speaking rapid Italian into his phone. He ended the call as soon as I entered. Sophia, he greeted. I trust you slept. as well as someone can when forcibly relocated, I snapped. Rosa said you have news about Mike. He gestured to a chair, but I stayed standing. Say it quickly. His eyes flickered approval. Maybe. Very well. My men searched Michael's apartment this morning. He's gone, but he left in a hurry. My heart hammered, and Alessio opened a folder on his desk and slid photographs across it. I stepped closer. The first showed Emma at the park, another our building's courtyard, another me walking hand in hand with her. What is this? My voice cracked, horror choking me. He was watching you, Alessio said flatly. Or paying someone to. The next set of photos showed men I didn't recognize, expensively dressed, guarded, their faces sharp with power. Viktor Petrov, Nikolai Banov, Alessio identified, Russian bratva. They would very much like what Michael stole. My knees weakened. I dropped into the chair. I don't understand. Why would Mike? Alessio didn't let me finish. He handed me something small, Emma's unicorn backpack. My breath caught. I unzipped it with shaking hands. Inside were her passport, a change of clothes, her favorite book, and several $1,000s in cash. The truth hit like ice water. He was going to take her, I whispered. He was planning to kidnap our daughter. Alessio's voice softened, though his eyes stayed cold. It seemed so likely as leverage, or to keep her as a shield. Tears burned, but fury burned hotter. All the months of begging Mike to step up, to see Emma, to care when, the whole time he'd been planning to steal her away. I looked up at Alessio, my voice shaking. How do I know you didn't plant this, that this isn't some trick to force my cooperation? He leaned forward on his desk, his gaze unwavering. To what end? I could have forced you last night. I don't waste time on elaborate games. I pressed my hands over my face, fighting for breath. What happens now? I whispered. Alessio sat back, steepling his fingers. Now, we move forward. You'll contact Michael. Tell him you know. Tell him, if he wants his daughter safe, he must meet you. The plan hung in the air between us. My heart pounded. And then you'll catch him, I said flatly. Yes. Before anyone else does. I looked toward the window, the gardens beyond. My voice was hoarse when I spoke again. If I help you, I want guarantees. Emma and I walk away from this. New identities if needed. Enough money to disappear where Mike can't find us. His eyes sharpened with interest. You're negotiating with me? I'm a mother protecting her child. I shot back. You said you respected that. A slow smile tugged at his lips. Indeed. Alessio studied me for a long, charged moment, his eyes cool and assessing. Then he reached into a drawer, pulled out a single sheet of heavy paper, and wrote several deliberate lines in a hand as elegant as the man himself. He signed it, slid it across the desk. A promise in ink. It wasn't legal, he'd admitted as much, but something about it felt binding nonetheless. Men like him didn't need contracts. Their word carried its own gravity. I folded the paper and tucked it into my pocket, steadying my voice. I'll need a phone. Use mine. He slid his sleek smartphone across the desk, his gaze never leaving my face. My fingers brushed his when I took it, a spark leaping from the contact that I shoved away before it could take root. I dialed Mike's number, from memory. He answered on the second ring. Sophie. His voice was tight, wary. This isn't your number. I'm borrowing a phone. I kept my tone steady, though my pulse thundered. Emma's fine for now, but I know what you were planning, Mike. The passport, the backpack. You were going to take her. Silence. Then his familiar, slippery voice. All excuses and half-lies. It's not what you think. I was just preparing, in case you had to kidnap your own daughter. My grip tightened on the phone. Or use her as a shield against the men you stole from. His sharp inhale told me I'd hit the truth. You don't understand. He tried again. These people, I understand perfectly. I cut him off. The Castellis, the Russians. And right now, you're the one I trust least. Another silence, heavier this time. Then, I want to see Emma. Why? So you can finish what you started. My voice cracked, but I forced it steady again. If you want to see her, if you want a chance to fix this, meet me. Tonight. He hesitated. It's too dangerous. They're watching me. Probably you too. Bluebird Coffee. Riverside Drive. 8 o'clock. I said firmly. Public place, or I go to the police. You wouldn't try me. Long seconds passed before he muttered. Fine. 8, but just you, not Emma. Of course not, I snapped. Unlike you, I don't put her in danger. The line went dead. I handed the phone back to Alessio. He slipped it into his pocket with a faint nod. Well done, convincing. It wasn't an act, I said, standing. Everything I said was true. Something flickered in his gaze, but he didn't comment. Evening crept in heavy and slow. Emma, exhausted from the excitement and her lingering cough, fell asleep early, curled around Mr. Flopsy. I stayed by her side until Alessio appeared in the doorway, transformed once again into the sharp-edged figure who had first stood outside my apartment. Dark suit, controlled expression, danger wrapped in silk. It's time, he said simply. I rose, my chest tight. Be careful. Mike's unpredictable when cornered. I've dealt with worse, he replied. But there was a beat of hesitation before he added, your concern is noted. The words startled me more than they should have. Will you tell me when it's over? Yes. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone but Rosa or myself. I nodded. And Alessio paused. Thank you for protecting Emma. For the first time, his expression softened barely, but enough that it shifted something inside me. Then he inclined his head and was gone. Hours dragged by, each tick of the clock stretching like wire. I dozed fitfully in the chair by Emma's bed until a soft knock stirred me. Alessio stood in the hall, his suit jacket gone, his shirt sleeve marked with a dark stain I refused to identify. It's done, he said. Mike, my throat tightened. Alive. For now, persuaded to cooperate. Relief and bitterness tangled inside me. He was Emma's father, yes, but he'd nearly sold her future for cash and survival. The drive recovered, all copies destroyed. He loosened his tie, a gesture oddly human after so much control. You and Emma are safe. From him, from the Russians, from all of it. I exhaled shakily. So what happens now? Now, he said, meeting my gaze, I honor our agreement. New identities are being prepared. By tomorrow, Sophia Ellis and her daughter will no longer exist. A hollow ache filled me, safety but at the cost of everything we knew. And after that, I whispered. He hesitated, his eyes sharper than ever. You disappear, unless, the word hung heavy between us. Unless what? Unless you stay. My chest constricted. Stay. Why? He stepped closer, his voice low, deliberate. Because in less than 2 days, you've shown more loyalty and courage than most men I've known in my life. Because I protect what's mine, and I find myself unwilling to let you go. The possessiveness should have terrified me. Instead, it sparked something unexpected, an ache I hadn't felt in years. To be wanted, to be seen. I can't answer that tonight, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Too much has happened. He nodded, a brief, sharp movement. Then I will wait, and I will protect you and Emma until you are ready to make a choice. He turned to leave, but I called his name. Alessio. He paused. Yes, Sophia, do you ever get tired of living this way? Of all the danger? He met my gaze. It is not a choice, Sophia. It is who I am. And now, you know what I am. All of it. And then he was gone. I stood there for a long time. The silence of the mansion pressing in, the weight of his words, a physical presence. The room was a cage of gold and marble, a gilded prison. But outside, I knew, was a far more terrifying world. The world where Mike's lies and greed had put us. The world that had sought to swallow us whole. And now, for the first time in a very long time, I felt something I hadn't expected. A fragile thread of hope. It was wrapped in the cold, dangerous promise of a man who claimed to protect what was his. And for now, that promise was all we had. I walked to Emma's bed and crawled in, pulling her close. The scent of her hair, the soft, steady rhythm of her breath, was my anchor. I closed my eyes, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I began to believe that we might just make it out alive.